Good morning, folks, and welcome to another great edition of Money Truth Moments with our very own Money Truth expert and whisperer, Judy Copenbarger. How are you?
Perfect. 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 I'm perfect this Tuesday morning. How are you doing, Carlos?
I'm doing fantastic. Although we had a little bit of a glitch getting started on here, I'm ready to go. I mean, this is a great, beautiful, sunny day. We get to talk a little bit more about our summer series. And if you're just joining us, welcome, folks. Make sure that you are following Judy at judycopenbarger.today. We've been talking since the beginning of summer on different topics, so make sure you go back and watch some of the other videos because there's a lot of wealth of information, just like in every show. So, what do you say we get started, Judy?
I'm ready. This is so important for young families. Let's do it.
Yeah. So today, folks, we are continuing our summer series, and we're talking about family finance. But more importantly, we're kind of halfway through, and for some folks, through summer, and school's coming. So get financially ready now. That's today's topic of the show. And let's just start off with, why does back to school season often disrupt the family budget, right? You're in a happy place with vacation, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got to think about school.
Yeah, new expenses. It's a new normal, right? When school starts, we're thinking about uniforms, tuition. There might be registration that's due like now, right? Usually it's July. It seems like school starts way earlier than it did when we were kids, doesn't it? I
Absolutely.
remember
Yeah.
thinking, wasn't it like Labor Day, like well into September when we started school? But anyway, and there's so many different school districts, and you never know when they're on spring break. This school, and then that school, and then these guys. So it's always different. But this time of year, we need to start thinking about fall because it is coming. And if we're planners, we don't want to be surprised by school starting. There are going to be some costs associated with that. So let's be ready.
When we think about school, and this is actually just not for little kids, this is also for high schoolers. This is some that are just starting probably college this time around too, as
Mhm.
well. What are some common related expenses that sometimes families tend to overlook?
Well, for older kids, it might be transportation. Maybe they're Ubering, maybe they're ride sharing, maybe they have their own car now, and they need gas money, things like that. But for, school age kids, when you think about, K through 12 kind of thing, it's those extra things that you don't really think about. Field trips, holidays, making cupcakes for the birthday party, right? Uniforms, maybe special, not uniforms, but there's a play coming up and now we got a costume. We got to get ready, right? And things like that. After school activities, camps. A lot of kids have the joy to go away to science camp or go to see the Capitol, or learn about their state. There's field trips and different camps and things like that. It's all those little extras that make life so much more meaningful that sometimes surprise us. So I think plan for the surprises, right? Just plan for the unexpected and just have a line item for that. And then you'll be ready.
So let me sidetrack here. So I want to ask you, think back of your summers, right? What's one summer as a kid that you remember that kind of just stands out for you? Like, man, that was just a great summer.
Oh, wow. As a kid, for me, I would say every summer was great. We were the house that had the pool in the whole neighborhood. We had the pool. And so, of course, all the kids were always in it. All the church activities were there. The PTA, the scouts, everybody was at our house all the time. And I think I was in my swimsuit and barefoot from, I don't know, Memorial Day to Labor Day, probably. I can't imagine back then, we didn't have the sunscreen like we do now. It's amazing. I don't have crazy, crazy skin, but yeah, every summer was just great, just full of people, barbecues, parties, watermelon, water balloons, all of that stuff. And we didn't really do big like trips, do the cruises and Disney and things like that. We just were at home enjoying that. How about you? What's the summer that stands out to you?
I think in junior high were probably the best summers I had, only because we got to get out of school, we got to practice because we still had like sports for like football, different things. And just I remember just either skateboarding everywhere or taking my bike everywhere, playing football, playing basketball, going sometimes. One of the best memories I think now that as I'm talking about it was when Ghostbusters first came out. We all walked to the theater, all the guys, to go watch Ghostbusters. And I remember just coming out of that, just like that was like really cool, back then. for
You and the
sure.
boys. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
hey, that's so great. As you were speaking, I was just having a little flashback of camps. I went to camp every summer. And
nice.
every year from little, probably 5 or 6, I went to church camp, and I was always up in the mountains with the big trees and all that, very different than, where I was living. And then later in like junior high and high school, it was sports camps for my athletics. And I just
Nice.
remember thinking that was always a highlight every year too.
Great times, right? For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so good.
So let's talk a little bit about planning, right? The obvious question is, how can financial planning help reduce stress, specifically this time of the year as folks get ready back to school?
Well, planning, right? It's just not being surprised, not being blindsided, and it's like, oh shoot, now I have this expense. It's not an option. I have to do it. And so where's it going to come from? If I don't have the savings for it, if I don't have a line item carved out of my spending plan, budget, the B word, where's it going to come from? Credit cards. And then that's more stress. So the stress-free way to do it is plan. And I like the idea of 10%. I do a lot of 10% in my life, but if 10% of what you think you're going to need for the whole school year is an additional line item for all those extras that we know it's going to be there, but we're not sure when or how much it's going to be, at least you'll have some money earmarked for those special things. So they're not a stressor. It's a joy to spend the money on those things. Not like, shoot, now I got to borrow from somewhere else, my transportation budget or my, grocery money. I've got to be, take one envelope or one jar, put it in the other. So the stress-free way to do is just plan for those surprises that are going to happen.
Great. And folks, if you're just joining us, please make sure that you are following Judy at judycopenbarger.today. Welcome to today's show. We are on our summer series. Today, we are talking about getting ready to back to school. So make sure that you are paying attention. Tell us a little bit about what's the best tips in your that you've experienced on saving on school supplies, maybe tech and clothing as well too.
Well, coupons are always great. And now most of them are on your phone, they're digital, but shop the deals. Shop early. Don't wait until it's, everybody else is in line at Staples or wherever you go, Costco, wherever you go get your stuff. Use the stationery stores. If you're looking for, books and crayons and markers and erasers and all that stuff, the traditional paper stuff, make sure you're looking at those stores too. Those are often, those have the best hidden deals. So look at those. Sometimes you don't need to buy everything brand new that's on the list from the teacher, right? Maybe if you need a calculator, if you're at that age or your kids are at that age, if you need an iPad or some technology, compasses, all those things that you need that is like, when am I ever going to use that again if I'm not going to study math or whatever? Borrow resources, share resources with your neighbors and your friends and the other parents that are doing the same thing. Uniforms, sporting equipment, all those things. Sometimes you can just kind of pull and share and just, put out that email that says, hey gang, or Facebook or wherever you, gather with your people and say, we're looking to, not overspend and buy everything new. Let's collect our resources. Who's got size 8, trousers, whatever. Why not? I mean, once you wear them once, they're not new anymore.
That's true. You know, the other thing too that I don't think we think as parents, right? Depending on where your kid is, if you're going from elementary to junior high to high school, or high school to college, is there's a lot of things that we're not prepared for as parents, let alone the kids, right? So, for example, how can parents really prepare for like fees, right? Sports, clubs, any extracurricular activities that obviously you don't think about because you haven't experienced it.
Just be ready. Just be ready. Just, what we did well, I think, as young parents, were when we didn't have kids, we hung around parents that had little kids, had babies. And when we had babies, we hung around parents that had toddlers. So we could always see what was coming. And when we
That's
had
fun.
toddlers and preschool kids, we hung around families that had older kids and we watched what they did and how they did it and, kind of observed and tried to learn from what they were going through. I think that there's a lesson in that, wherever we are in life. It's always good to just kind of have an idea what's around the corner, what's coming, instead of just living day for day. And that takes a little intention, right? Takes a little planning, which for me is natural. I'm a planner. I love that. But not everybody has that intuitive foresight of what's the next season, what's the next thing to plan for. But when we can kind of take that on, even if it's not natural for us, just take on that. What's next? What do I need next week? What do I need next month? What do I need next school season? When school starts, what do I need Christmas? It blows me away how the holidays around Christmas time surprise people every year.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they happen about the same time, New Year's about the same time, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, is pretty much the same time of year every year. Why are people surprised by that? School starts every year, pretty much in the fall. So let's just know that's coming. Do a little intention, a little forethought, and prepare for that. I mean, it's really not rocket science. It's simple. I think it's not always easy because it's new habits. It's new disciplines. It's like, well, we were going to go do this with our money, and now you're saying do this. That's not as fun. Planning is not as fun because it's just money saved. But on the other end, it is such a blessing to have done that. And you thank yourself. You'll thank your future self, right, for doing that for you. To always have money set aside for the surprises and those unexpected things. All of these things included with kids. We don't want them to be the kid that doesn't have the t-shirt for the field trip.
Right.
We don't want them to be the one that doesn't have the cleats, and now they can't play soccer, whatever it is. We want them to be able to say yes to those things. And so financially, we can plan and prepare. So when those things come, we can say yes and not do it with stress and debt. It's totally possible.
I'm going to follow up with a question about specifically those families that they just had their kids graduate right now from high school, and how should they approach the whole savings for college, the whole savings, even in some cases where they're going to go into private school, right, from junior high or high school, or they're going to continue that.
Well, hopefully they've planned, because if the kids are graduating, it's like, it's time,
Right.
that means this summer tuition's due for fall already, whatever college or junior college they're going to. So hopefully they've planned and have some money set aside, or, a plan for that, for accessing the money. Scholarships are always great. Grants are always great, and always check into those. I used to tell the kids when they were looking into their schools and things like that, that the scholarships and the grants, usually you have to apply, you have to write an essay or a story and, fill out all this stuff. Well, if you have that done, if you figure you're going to get $500 or $5,000 or $20,000 for that essay, how much is each word in that essay worth? I mean, that's motivation to sit down and write a good one, right? And
Yeah.
edit it and have mom look it over and, check it out and run it by some people that really know, how to do that well. There's a lot of money in that, and money saved is money earned, right? So it's just money that you would have spent otherwise. But back to the planning thing, hopefully if you've got kids graduating from high school or junior high and you're going into private school, you've got the money there somewhere, so you don't have to borrow it. But if you do it wisely and, with reason, so you have a plan for paying it back and all of that. But you just got to start early, save often. It's just that discipline of, I can see in the seasons ahead, I'm going to need money for these things, whether it's tuition or housing or whatever it is, trade school, whatever it is, maybe a semester at sea, something nice like that. Having the money set aside because of the planning and the discipline of that always pays off.
It's also and we've talked about this before too, how important it is to, yes, start planning early, but talk about how important it is also for kids to be a part of this planning process as well too.
Yeah, I just met with a family the other day that was talking about this, and my advice, actually, it was, we went to a big concert over the weekend, and I was talking to these families in line. We had extra line time, so you really get to know your your fellow line sitters. And so we're talking to them about, they were all in the parenting stage, and we're kind of at the grandparenting stage now. But we're talking about, this one gal was graduating, did really well, and she's off to UPenn in the fall. So
Oh
she's
wow.
going to a big school and has done really well in her studies. And I was asking her what she was doing. She says, well, I've just been working a lot. So she spent her senior year getting her great grades, but also working to get money so she could, get into this great school and help the family cover that. And so I was able to share with her from our experience with our kids how easy it is to make money while you're a student. You can take notes. You get paid like really, really good hourly to take notes for students that can't take their own notes, whether they have a disability or whatever. That's pretty cool. And what you do is you audit the classes. So you're taking notes in the classes and sitting in there with no grade, getting paid to be there. And then when you take the class on your record, you're going to get an A. You've already taken the class, right? You have all the notes and you know what the teacher wants. Pretty cool. And that's good money. There's always, look in the psychology department. There's always departments that are doing studies and they need people, they need resources. There's things you can do with childcare and education. There's all kinds of things going on where there are grants to do these studies and they need people to either do the work of it or be the guinea pigs, right? It doesn't mean brain surgery, right? But there are things you can do to make really good money. And then there's always on-campus jobs. You can do gardening or work in the offices and things like that. I think as a student, if I was on campus, I wouldn't want to have a full-time job on campus. I'd want to do the campus life, right? I didn't have that experience because I was always a commuter. But I think if I was on campus, I would want to work part-time or flexible time and really take advantage of all the student leadership things and all the student activities. But the bottom line is there's lots of ways to make money as a student to help cover the cost of the ongoing tuition, for sure.
And you know what? Those are great. I wish I would have known that, going to school and all that, just to get some of those part-time jobs that you're talking about, even taking notes. I mean, that's a simple concept, but man, I didn't think about it, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of money on campus to be made for someone that wants to go get it. So you just gotta be a little proactive there. But there's a lot of opportunities.
So I know we're getting close to the end of the show, but talk to us just briefly about maybe some apps that are out there. I mean, I'm the nerd, so I love anything related to apps that can help us stay on track with that. Do you have any suggestions?
There are so many. You know what I would do is just Google the apps. Just say, what are the best apps? Because they change every Tuesday. So just Google top 10 apps that do this, either budgeting, spending, saving for college, finding scholarships, or work to be done on campus as a college student. Just Google whatever it is that you specifically are interested, top 10, and there's going to be plenty. And that's a better list than I could give you right now, I'll tell you, because it changes.
All right, that's awesome. Folks, thanks for joining us today. Please make sure that you are following Judy at judycopenbarger.today. Follow the topics for the summer because there's been a lot of great wisdom shared. Some key things for vacationing, for spending plans. I was about to say the B word. I caught myself on that. Yeah. So make sure that you are following Judy as well too. So we are at the tail end of the show, and for you regular folks, you know what that means. It's a summer money truth challenge. I was going to say that 3 times fast, but no, I can't do it.
Here is your challenge, people. If you are in the heat of things right now, you've got littles at home, if you're a young family, what are the top 3 things you can do to make sure that you are ready as the summer ends and you're ready for the expenses of the fall, whether it's school, college, whatever's coming up for you? What are 3 things you can do to be ready? And if you're not in that season, who can you help prepare for that? If you're a grandparent, if you've got nieces and nephews, if you're somehow a mentor or coach of kids, how can you help these young families prepare? Top 3 things you can do to make sure that you're not on the back end of this, you're ahead of the wave, and you've got the money for those surprises. That's your challenge.
All right, folks. And if you have any questions, any other topics that you'd like Judy to address as well, please make sure to drop us a line. We're here every Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. with the replay on Thursdays at 8 p.m. So, Judy, any last parting words?
Make it a great week. Enjoy what is left of the summer. It's beautiful outside.
All right, folks. Until next week, take care.